In this video, we are going to work on the other three visuals for this report. So let's take another look at the sample dashboard. So here we are looking at the profit margin by segment, and then sales by year and month, and top 3 products by sales amount. So let's go back and then work on these visuals. So first, we are looking at the profit by segment. So I'll go to my analysis and I'm going to pick profit margin, and then I'll go to my financials and also pick segment. And I'm going to bring this here. I'm going to change this and pick a bar chart. Now I'll go to format, and then I'm going to pick y-axis. I'm going to turn off the title, so I'll have enough room for the visualization. Then I'll go to the x-axis and also turn off the title and also turn off the axis entirely. I'm going to add some data labels. Then I'll go to general and also turn off the title. I'm going to resize this. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to turn on the data labels. So I'll go to visual and I'm going to turn on the data labels. Now you see that the values here are formatted with 2 decimal places. I'll expand on the data labels and I'll go to values and I'm going to pick 0. Now if you take a look at this, you see that the enterprise segment is making a loss. Now what we want to do is to apply conditional formatting, which is going to format the series or the bars where we have negative. So I'm going to select this. Then I'll go to format. Then I'll go to bars. I'm going to expand on this and we have the default color. Now you also see that we have FX here, which represents conditional formatting. So we can apply conditional formatting, which is going to change the colors for the series based on a specified condition. So I'm going to pick FX. And here we have format style. Now by default, we have gradient. I'm going to change it from gradient and I'm going to pick rules. And we have the field where we want to use to apply the rules. Now I'm going to click on the drop down and I'll go to my analysis and I'm going to pick the profit margin. And this is what I'm going to use to apply the formatting to the series or the bars that we have here. So with the profit margin, if it's greater or equal to 0, so I'm going to pick number instead of percentage. So if the profit margin is greater or equal to 0 and is less than the maximum profit margin that we have, we want to use this color. So that's rule number 1. I'm going to add the second rule. Now if the profit margin, if is greater or equal to the minimum but is less than 0, so here I'm going to pick number, but it's less than 0, we want it to be formatted with this color here. So the rule that we are applying here is based on the profit margin, that if the profit margin is greater or equal to 0 but is less than the maximum profit margin, then we want the series color to be this. But if the profit margin is greater or equal to the minimum profit margin but is less than 0, then we want it to be formatted with this color. So I'm going to click OK. Now if you take a look at this, you see that this has been formatted differently, indicating that this is negative. Now let's work on the next visualization where we are looking at the sales by year and month. So we want to see the trend or how the sales have been changing over time. So what I'm going to do is to go to the analysis table. I'm going to pick sales amount. Then I'll come to my date table and I'm going to pick date. Now with the date, I'm interested in the year and then the month. So I'm going to get rid of the day and then the quarter. Now I'm going to move this here. Now what I will do is to go to visualizations and I'm going to pick a line. So we have this here. Now I'm going to click on this icon to expand all down one level in the hierarchy. So I want to display the data in month. So I'm going to expand this. And now we see the trend by year and then month. Now let's format this. So first I'll go to format. I'm going to pick general and turn off the title. And then I'll go to the y-axis and I'm going to turn off the title as well. And then the x-axis, I'm also going to turn off the title. So we have the sales by month and year. Now what I'm going to do is to work on the next visualization, which we are looking at the top 3 products by sales amount. So I'll go to my visualizations and I'm going to pick a bar chart. And I'm going to pick sales amount and then product. I'm going to bring it here. Now what I will do is to go to format. I'll go to the y-axis, turn off the title. Then I'll go to the x and also turn off the title. I'm going to turn it off entirely and then add my data labels. And then I'll go to general and also turn off the title. I'll go back to visuals and then go back to my data labels. With the display unit, we want to use thousands. And then with the decimal value, I'm going to make it 0. So we have this here as well. Now the next thing that we want to do is to highlight the top 3 products with the highest sales amount. One way of doing this is to create a measure. So here we are going to write a DAX expression, which is going to enable us to highlight the top 3 products within this visualization. So if you take a look at the sample dashboard, you see that the top 3 products have been formatted differently from the other products. So let's see how we can do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a measure. So I will select my analysis table and I'm going to create a new measure. Now I'm going to call this top 3 products by sales. Now I'm going to use calculate. Now what do we want to calculate? We want to calculate the sales amount. So I'll bring open square brackets. So I'll be able to access all the measures that I have within my data model. So I'm going to pick sales amount. Now with filter 1, I'm going to use top n function, which returns the top n items in a row. So I'm going to pick top n. Now we need to provide the n value. So how many items are we interested in? We are interested in the top 10. So here we have to use 10. If you are interested in the top 5, we have to use top 5. So here we are interested in the top 3. So I'm going to type 3. Now the next input is the table that we are interested in. So here we want to go to the financials table and we are interested in the product column. So we want to return the top 3 products. So here we can use any DAX function that returns a table. So one of the functions that will enable us to do this is all selected. So I'm going to bring all selected. And we can provide the name of the table or the name of the column. So here we want to pick the top 3 products. So I'm going to pick the product column in the financials table. And I'm going to close this. Then the next one is the order bar expression. What am I using to select the top 3 items? The top 3 items I want to select should be based on the total sales measure. So I'm going to bring open square bracket and pick the sales amount. So I'm selecting the top 3 products based on the sales amount. Now I'll bring my comma. Now the next thing is the order. Do you want to order the cells in descending order or in ascending order? Now because we are interested in the top 3, we have to sort it in descending order so that the product with the highest sales amount will be on top. Then we can select the 3 of them. So I'm going to pick descending and then close the top end function. Now I'll bring my comma. Now under the second filter, I'm going to use values. That will help me to select the distinct product that we have in the product column. And that's what I want to use or highlight. So I'll bring values. Then we provide the name of the column. So here we want to select the product or the names of the product. I'm going to close this and close the calculate function. Now let me explain what we are doing here again. Now we want to calculate the sales amount for the top 3 products. So we are using the calculate function and we want to calculate the sales amount. Then we are using the top n. So we need to provide the n item that we are interested in. We are interested in the top 3 items. Then we need to provide a table that we want to pick the rows from. So here we want to pick the rows from the product column that we have in the financials table. Now under what basis are we selecting the top 3 items? We are using their sales amount. Now because we are selecting the top, we have to sort this in descending order. If we are interested in the bottom, then we would have sorted this in ascending order. Then we bring in our values and then we want the distinct product. And that's what this expression here is doing. Now let's test this. So I'm going to create a very simple table. So I'll go to my visualizations and pick table. Now I'm going to pick the sales amount and then I'm going to pick the product from the financials table. Now I'm going to bring this here. Now when we add the top 3 product measure, let's see what it returns. So if you take a look at this, you see that it has returned the values for the top 3 products. Now let's sort this by sales amount. So these are the top 3 products by sales amount, and you can see that the measure has returned the values for the top 3 products, with the other products which are not within the top n items that we are interested in, you can see that we have blank. Now we are using this principle here to highlight these 3 products on this visual. So here we are going to create a measure which is going to check whether the value which is being returned by this measure is blank or not. So let's go to our analysis table and we are going to create a new measure. So I'm going to call this top highlight. What we are going to do is to use if to check whether the result being returned by this measure is blank or not. So I'm going to bring if and I'm going to use is blank, which checks whether a value is blank or not. So if is blank, this measure, so we are checking if this top 3 product measure is blank. So I'm going to close the is blank function. So what we are doing is if is blank, this measure here, if it's blank, then what should be the result? I'm going to bring comma. So if it's blank, I want the result to be 0. But if it's not blank, that's the value if false, then I want the result to be 1. So what we are doing here is to check the value which is going to be returned by the top 3 product by source measure. If the value is blank, we want this measure that we are creating here to return 0. But if it's not blank, we want it to return 1. So let's close the if function and press enter. Now I'm going to resize this and I'm going to add this. Now if you take a look at this, you see that the places where we have the value within the top 3 category, you see that we have 1, and the places where we have blanks have 0. So we are going to use this to highlight the product on this visualization. So I'm going to select this, and just like how we apply conditional formatting to this visual, we are going to use the same principle to highlight the top 3 products on this visual. So I'll select this, and then I'll go to format, then I'll go to bars, and with the color here I'm going to pick FX, which will take me to the conditional formatting. Now with the format style, I'm going to click on the drop down and pick rules, and with the based on field, it's going to be based on the top highlight measure, and the rule is if the value is equal to 0, so I'm going to pick number. If it's equal to 0, we want to use this blue color here. Now I'm going to add a second rule. Now if the value is equal to 1, I'm going to pick number. I want the format to be this. Then I'm going to click OK. Now you can see that the products that are within the top 3 category have been highlighted and formatted differently. Now let's get rid of this table. We just use it to explain what we are doing. So now we have this here. The last thing that we are going to do is to add the titles. So I'm going to copy this. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. I'm going to bring it here. So here we are looking at the profit margin by segment. So this is going to be top 3. So I'm going to select the top 3 here and format it with the same color that we have here. So I'll click on the drop down and pick this color here. So this will indicate that the products with this color are the top 3 products. Now with this, we are also looking at the sales by year and month. I'm going to resize this, and we have this here. Now in the next video, we are going to work on the last visualization. So see you in the next video.